Welcome back to the channel and another edition of Transfer Special. And this time I've got Michael Bridge with me from Sky Sports to talk about transfers. 3 confirmed transfers. It looks like 3 more on their way. It is all happening at Spurs. Michael, welcome back to the channel. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Chris. I'm not going to lie. I'm pretty tired, but no, it's all very positive. It's my day off today, but during the transfer window, there's genuinely no days off. So, but look, from a Tottenham fan's perspective, it's fantastic.
You would have probably expected quite a June, though, Michael, wouldn't you?
Do you know what, Chris? I actually said on air to my colleague Haley the other day, I've not known a June like it. I have to say, like, I've spoken to a couple of people in football, not Tottenham, but they've said, look, now COVID's over in the sense of travel, managers are so desperate to get these players on the plane. You know, Tottenham are going to Korea, Arsenal are going to America, Chelsea are going to America, Man United are going to Australia, Thailand, Bangkok. So, you know, the game's gone back to what it was, and these managers are saying, look, you know, I want as many players on board as possible. So I think that might have a little bit to it as well. No World Cup, no Euros. So yeah, it's been really busy, but it's good for fans. You know, it's been a boring few weeks. I wasn't really into the Nations League. I wanted a break personally myself. I think the players probably echo that as well with those performances. But yeah, it's really getting big now. You know, big transfers. They're really coming together.
Michael, as I said earlier, we've got 3 signings over the line so far, but the ones I want to talk about first, if we can you bring us up to date on the Richarlison deal?
Yeah, that's really close. Tottenham like an announcement, sort of a 10 a.m. announcement. Potentially Friday, might drag to the weekend. He's in Brazil. I think that's widely reported. We've got player liaison officers there to get this done. What I do know is that he's very keen to come. A deal was done with Everton last night, and it looks like it's going to be done. You know, I think the medical. There are reports that the medical has actually been done. I've not had that confirmed to me personally myself, but a medical is well underway. Look, he's a fit lad, touch wood, you know, mid-20s, ticks all the boxes. And it's a real Tottenham, show us you're a big club signing, if you ask me. You know, I think it's great, you know. It's funny because I'm not going to lie, I'm not hugely sold on him. If it's, say, for example, if it wasn't Conte and it was another manager going for him, I would question it. I must be honest. But if Antonio Conte wants him, that's good enough for me. And I have to say, you know, Everton were terrible last season. They only stayed up because Norwich and Watford were so dreadful.
Yep.
And he did shine in a poor side. So at the start of the week, I heard that Spurs were going to ramp up Richarlison this week. That's come true. But the Anthony Gordon came out of nowhere, really, and Everton fans really weren't happy about that. But obviously, Everton backed up that story we brought to you on Sky, and I get the impression I haven't had this totally confirmed, but maybe Spurs accepting like, okay, we'll stop the Gordon interest for now, and Everton say, great, let's proceed with Richarlison.
Michael, what about there's been reports out today stating that Chelsea tried to hijack this deal with Richarlison. Do you know anything on that?
I've read that online. I personally don't know if they tried to hijack it last minute. I mean, if they did, I mean, they've got a lot of the Brazilian agents and contacts all know each other pretty well, and Chelsea have been keen on him. There's no doubt about that. But Tottenham have liked Richarlison since the Watford days. Yeah. And we have to remember that Everton paid a lot of money for him. I think the whole package came to sort of rising to 50 million. Yeah. So it's a funny signing, really, because I've heard people say, well, it's a lot of money from Spurs, but then I'm saying, well, Everton paid a lot of money. So it's how you look at it, what camp you're in. I think Chelsea are going to look elsewhere. That, you know, that they're trying desperately for Rafinha. Barcelona have not given up on that. Thomas Tuchel is desperate for Raheem Sterling. That'll probably get done. I can see Chelsea next year playing with a false 9 because it kind of works with them when they won the Champions League, and Lukaku just as if like, I don't fit anywhere. But I think it might have, even if there was Chelsea interest late doors, then wow. But to me, from what I heard, there's nothing to worry about. I mean, I know we're all got the scars, the permanent scars from Willian all those years ago, but I've not heard anything. I had a text earlier saying nothing to worry about. So, and that person I trust a lot. So I'm hoping it will get done.
We still want to see that the picture of him holding up the shirt, Michael. I tell you.
Well, I tell you what, there's a lot of clever fakes out there now, Chris. I mean, the amount of accounts.
I know.
And I'm thinking, hold on, have I missed an email here or something?
Yeah,
I should be getting this. And some very clever people about.
Yeah. With Richarlison, where do you see him fitting in? Because they're never going to take Heung-min Son and Harry Kane out of the team. So is it going to be rotation between him and Dejan Kulusevski, would you say?
Do you know what, Chris? I mean, I saw a tweet last night, someone saying, well, what are we going to do with... I can't believe what I'm hearing. I couldn't believe what I was reading. Tottenham Hotspur are finally thinking like a big club. Spurs fans have been desperate for it. Now you are thinking like a big club, Tottenham Hotspur. You've got one of the greatest managers in the world. I think he's, I've banged the Conte drum, as you know, Chris, for well over a year now. He wins titles everywhere. He's a serious manager. And he's turned around many a time and looked at the bench and gone, oh, I've got nothing. I've got nothing. The game is going to change next year. 5 subs. The game will change. You'll see Harry coming off after maybe 55, 60 minutes. Let's not forget, Spurs are going to play, hypothetically, Liverpool on Saturday away, then Bayern Munich on the Tuesday. Now Tottenham are back in Europe with no more Conference League or Europa League. They need Lloris. So there was Sam Johnston, no. So Fraser Forster happy to be number 2. No Galini. You've got now, like you look at Liverpool, Diego Jota, for example. Liverpool didn't stand still. They carried on trying to improve, making sure their bench was so strong. You weren't sure which front three. That's what I can see with Tottenham Hotspur. Kulusevski, probably the signing of the January window. But does that make him an absolute starter for every single game under the sun? I don't think so. And we have to get real here. Son's 29. Kane's reaching his 29th birthday. So we, Tottenham, have to start looking to the future. And 25, Premier League experience, is looking to the future. So Spurs need to act like a big club, and that's what they're doing with this signing.
Michael, can you bring us up to date on the Jed Spence situation? Of course, there's been so much speculation in the last couple of weeks. A lot of Spurs fans a couple of weeks ago thought that this deal was done.
I'll tell you something. There are some incredible journalists. And the thing is, you got the Tottenham camp, you got the Jed Spence camp, and you got the Middlesbrough camp, and everyone's kind of saying different things. What I will say, 2 things is: one, Jed Spence only wants to come to Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. Then he went on holiday after his international stint. Secondly, Chris Wilder and Middlesbrough want to get this deal done. Chris Wilder wants to win this championship. He knows he's not got Jed Spence in his squad next season. The championship kicks off in a month's time. They need that money in. My understanding is I think they're pushing this deal as much as possible. Daniel Levy and Steve Gibson, 2 big businessmen, well-known businessmen, chairman who... I'd like to see that on pay-per-view, to be honest with you. Steve Gibson v. Daniel Levy. But I think whatever we've seen or heard, like a couple of my colleagues today saying, it's getting advanced now. I think whatever you read or hear, I do believe the 2 facts are the player wants to come and the talks are still going on. But the fact that the player wants to come means I think it will get done. But I'll be honest with you, I thought it would have been done by now, but it has dragged a bit. I think maybe Middlesbrough have maybe valued him a little bit too high, given they loaned him last season to Forest. It's not as if he's done this at Middlesbrough. He's done this at Forest. So they have to be a little bit careful. But, I think this will get done.
Is it just a matter, then, of just agreeing a fee? Are they still miles apart, or are they very close?
No, I don't think they're miles apart. I mean, I think when the conversation first started, they were probably about 10 million apart. So that was miles.
Wow.
But I think Middlesbrough valued him around 20 and Tottenham may be winning him with an opening bid of around 10, 11. Naturally, that's going to come back Middlesbrough's way, Tottenham's way. You're going to meet halfway at some stage. I do believe they will meet at some stage, whether it's 14 and a bit. We'll wait and see. I think what's the key here is that Conte has given the thumbs up to him. Spurs need English players. They need more homegrown. They need to get this homegrown, I say issue, slight concern maybe, and he ticks the boxes. So I do think it will get done. But I think Spurs, when the other week when they were so far apart, I think they were prepared to walk away. Fabio Paratici, other Spurs journalists have made this clear as well, that Fabio Paratici has a selection of targets per position and they wouldn't have been afraid to move on. But I do get the feeling that he did want Spence because he's English as well.
Michael, what do you think of Spence? Would he walk in to the Tottenham Hotspur starting 11 above Matt Doherty and Emerson Royale?
Great question, because obviously he had a good loan at Forest last year in the Championship, but you're going into the Premier League playing for a top 4 club. It's funny because, you know, Doherty, I thought, was on the way out. Spurs were trying to get him out last January. All of a sudden has a great couple of months and everyone's devastated he's not playing. He got injured against Villa. Royale, there's interest there from La Liga. Atletico Madrid made an offer on a season loan. Spurs aren't interested in loans. I think they might be interested in a cash deal. But I also feel like Royale could maybe be a backup as part of the back three. I actually think he's a good defender. Whether he does enough going forward, well, no, let's be honest, he doesn't do enough going forward. You know, for Conte's system, we need those assist and goals numbers to treble. You know, it's a very key position now under Antonio Conte. What I will say about Emerson Royal, I thought he played very well in that final month, and he had a shaky start, but perhaps we're all a bit too quick. It's a new club, a new country. He's young. Perhaps we're a little bit too soon. I don't know, but I also don't know whether you can have Doherty, Spence, and Royale. But it's a long season, and they need a big squad, so it remains to be seen. But I also think, if you know, hypothetically, and this hasn't happened, but a Southampton came in for Doherty or a Forest, then Spurs would consider it. I really do. I think there's a number of players Spurs would consider offers for if they came in, like Sanchez, for example. I know they would for him, but they'd also be happy he stayed. There's a number of those players they would consider offers for.
Michael, what have you made of Tottenham's business so far? Of course, Ivan Perisic, Fraser Forster, and Yves Bissouma. Impressed?
More than impressed. More than impressed. So impressed. This is not the Tottenham Hotspur I'm used to seeing. You know, it's again,
it's the Conte effect.
It is, but it is. You know, it's kind of last chance saloon. It's kind of not last chance saloon, but it's, you know, it's a warn. You know, I think Tottenham sort of lost their chance when they're in the Champions League last time. You know, you stand still in football, you go backwards, and I think Spurs had a couple of windows where they kind of stood still. They did go back a bit. They didn't make key signings. They missed out on a few players because they dilly-daddle. They're getting business done early. Ivan Perisic is a superb signing. Left wing back. But I also think, you know, he's got the ability to play attacking left wing, attacking right wing. And he just brings that winning mentality straight into that changing room. So that's a brilliant signing for Tottenham. Yeah, I'm still getting used to this Tottenham. You know, it's great. You know, it's great. And I don't want to speak too soon, but I think Tottenham are going to finish in the top 3 next season. I really do. I was listening to the radio the other day, and Darren Bent couldn't understand why. Then he thought Chelsea had a better squad than Spurs. And from my point of view, Chelsea have lost 2 defenders. One of them probably one of the best centre halves in the world. They don't have a number 9. Tottenham have got the best number 9 in the world. They got Son, and they're strengthening. I like what they're doing, and I think top 3 and going for a trophy has to be what they should be going for. 100%. It looks a squad to be feared, and you know, it's a tough squad as well. Like the soft centre seems to be going with Romero, Bissouma, Richarlison. I mean, wouldn't want to mess with any of them. And you know they're going to give it some on the pitch. That's not the Tottenham I'm used to. So it's exciting times. It really is.
It's a good point, what you said about Richarlison and about Perisic, because they're both versatile players, aren't they? And they can play across the pitch. So Richarlison, for me, I know we haven't signed a striker, an out-and-out striker since 2017 on a permanent deal, Fernando Llorente, which is a crazy stat for me. But Richarlison, very versatile, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Look, as I say, with any player, you know, if Antonio Conte wants him, then that's good enough for me. He does seem a Conte player, can play across the front 3, and that's exactly what Spurs want. As can Son, you know, so it's great. Yeah. It's nothing but a positive, you know. I'm assuming Lucas Moura will stay. I've not heard anything about him leaving. I'm not even considering Steven Bergwijn next season. You know, I'm assuming Ajax will eventually cough up the money. So there might even be room for one more. I do believe that. So, as I say, the Champions League means Tottenham really do have to think of this as a squad game and not a first 11.
Michael, you mentioned Lucas Moura there. He's out of contract next summer. and he's spoken out a number of times saying about he will leave to go back to Sao Paulo, and he will leave on a free transfer. I can't see Spurs allowing that to happen. Can you?
No, it'd be interesting one with Lucas Moura, because all managers like him because he's very trustworthy, and I know he frustrates Spurs fans, but he's probably a good option to have off the bench. And excuse me, but there's no interest at the moment in him, and he's very, very happy. So I don't know. That would have to be a late one for me. But as I say, all managers are keen to have him. I don't know if Tottenham would offer him a one-year deal. I don't know, but there's been no talk on him as of yet.
Okay. The Clement Lenglet one. Lots of media reports out in the last 24 hours stating that Spurs are just about to sign him on a 2-year loan deal. Do you have any update on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's someone who Spurs have known about for quite some time. I say quite some time. It's someone who Paratici's brought to the table since he's been there. Look, he's not Tottenham's first choice. He's going to be a squad depth signing. And again, if Conte wants him, that's enough. What I will say about him, he's got a fantastic pass on him. And although Ben Davies has been brilliant there, this Lenglet really can find a player. So I don't know whether Conte's seen that in him and he expects the left winger to bomb forward. But yeah, that Barcelona want to do the deal. It sounds like Spurs now want to do the deal. Now, I still think Spurs will go in for another centre half. I really do. And I think that'll come down to them maybe Sanchez or Rodon possibly moving on. I think more likely Rodon, because he's made it pretty clear he wants to be a first teamer going into the World Cup, which I can completely understand. That he's played more for Wales than he has for Spurs.
Yeah.
So I know that the Lenglet isn't the most glamorous signing, but I do feel that if Conte thinks he's a good squad addition and they want one more, then it gets a thumbs up from me.
Michael, so we've signed 3 already, 3 confirmed. It looks like these other 3 are on their way. You're talking about another centre-back. How many more?
Well, Chris, I mean,
this is brilliant.
I know. I mean, look, I was in a press conference, November, December, and he sat down and he said, I have to be honest with you. This squad, I've done my evaluation. This squad needs a lot of work. And I was thinking, oh no, this is never going to happen. He's got too much. He doesn't want it. But he's getting it done. He's getting the work done. It's incredible. So it's very, very exciting. As I say, I think they'll want another defender. I think they'll want another midfielder. I'm disappointed that it doesn't look like Eriksen's coming, because I think they're looking for someone who can bomb forward a little bit more in midfield, who can maybe put a few goals and assists to their name. And I thought that was Eriksen on to a T. But it seems to me that he, at the moment, as it stands, he's choosing between Middlesbrough and Brentford. Obviously, a right wing back is someone that they want, and a left central defender, and maybe another attacking midfielder. But I must stress they need to wait on who they get out as well. You know, the Harry Winks to Everton has died down quite a bit. Bergwijn hasn't left yet. The Celso hasn't left yet. I don't know what they're going to do with Tanguy and Dembele. They've not made a decision yet on Pape Sarr. To me, he looks very light, so maybe he'll go out on loan again. I imagine Parrott and Scarlett will go out on loan. So there's a lot of decisions that still need to be made. And as I say, it is only the 30th of June, heading into July. There is still time for all managers to change their squad. And as always, they will get an opportunity. They like Paratici will get a phone call and say, "Are you interested in this player?" And they'll go, "We can't say no." So there's always that opportunity as well. But it looks like they're just covering the things they really do want to do.
Can you remember a time when a Spurs manager got everything on their shopping list?
Not really. I mean, I remember 94 when Tottenham got Klinsmann, and it was this sort of like the front five and everything like that. But I mean, I'm going back a long, long time now. I know Harry Redknapp always kind of regrets not bringing in certain players, and there's obviously the Zaha Nelson story. I mean, look, we could be going in a time machine now and we'd say, we signed 7 players to replace Gareth Bale. Ultimately, only 2 or 3 of them turned into a success. So we don't want to go too excited too early. But what I will say is that We all know about Basuma. We all know about Perisic. We all know what Richarlison can do. We all know Fraser Forster is more than able backup. It's not as if we're going on YouTube and checking out on them and seeing how good they are. We already know how good they are. So that's what makes me excited for this football club. I'm just as long as Conte's at the club, I think Spurs are going places. You just got to keep him happy. We all know he's not long term, but then I'd say, what is long term in football anymore? You know, Pochettino's just left PSG. Where does he go now? What is long term in football management anyway? You know, so you know, if Newcastle continue to do well, are they going to stick with Eddie Howe, or if they don't do as well, are they going to move him on? This is a short-term game. You know, we've got to enjoy it. You know, Son and Kane aren't getting any younger. We're not interested in projects. The worst word in football. We're interested in now. And I think that's why Spurs fans can be so excited going into the first game of the season against Southampton.
Michael, I always ask all of my guests, what is the definition of backing Antonio Conte? This is the definition of backing Conte, isn't it? What is exactly what's happening right now? Are you surprised?
Yes and no. I think the day that Nuno's final game was really toxic at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Obviously, Daniel Levy will take it personally. And when he takes it personally, someone has to fall. And Nuno fell. And look, I liked Nuno as a person. He was very nice in press conferences, although he was didn't understand it, like a bit rude sometimes to certain journalists. But he just wasn't the right fit. Conte is a winner. He's just an absolute winner. Yes, he gets emotional, but there's nothing better than seeing him running up and down that touchline. I think every fan realises what he's done to this football club now. They battered Arsenal. They had a great end to the season. Everyone's talking about Tottenham in a positive light. And I think it's all down to him. Now, I know Daniel Levy gets criticised and, you know, a lot of it maybe in the past might be justified. But he does deserve credit for biting the bullet with Nuno and going straight in for Antonio Conte. The man has completely turned the football club around from top to bottom, and they are acting like a serious club. So, look, we know Antonio Conte doesn't stay at clubs for too long. But, as I say, you know, football is not a long-term game anymore. And if for me, Antonio Conte can't keep quitting clubs because he won't get, as good a manager he is, he'll get a reputation for not staying for very long. And I think he maybe needs to make somewhere his home, and if he makes Tottenham his home, they're gonna enjoy some good times.
Michael, what needs to happen in this transfer window from now until the 1st of September for it to be described to you as the perfect window and the best ever window?
To complete Conte's target list, I suppose. Where, you know, I think, as I say, I think, you know, if Richarlison gets done, I think they'll want the right wing back, which would be Spence probably. Another centre half on top of Lenglet. A more dynamic kind of midfielder, I think, which can put some goals in. And then maybe a bonus. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, that would be, I think, the dream. But I think, let's face it, it's going really well so far. Really well. I mean, I had a few Spurs fans the other day getting frustrated, and I had to remind them. I said, you know, Tottenham signed Basuma last week, probably the best midfielder outside the top six. So, yeah, I think a few Spurs players are still in dreamland, really. So, long may it continue.
Michael, you mentioned Christian Eriksen earlier. Why do you think Spurs haven't gone in for him? Are you surprised by that one?
I think there was an offer there, but I don't know how big an interest there was. Now, I'll let you in onto something. I did a Q&A for the Brentford End of Season Player Awards, and one of the players was Eriksen. And off camera, I practically begged him to come. And he said to me, "Look, you're going to be disappointed." I thought it was a bit of fun, but look, you know, a year ago, I'm cheering him on from my sofa, hoping he stays alive. Now I'm hoping he rejoins the football club. It's quite remarkable turnaround, you know. So, if he's of the opinion that he wants a fresh start, you know, it's good for his life, he wants things new and fresh, then good luck to him. As it stands now, I think it's between Man United and Brentford. Man United have offered him, you know, a very, very nice salary. Brentford can't match that, but they can match London and, you know, the lifestyle he's probably had over the last few months. So I think that's the choice at the moment. I don't know why he hasn't I don't know Tottenham's offer. I know there was interest, but maybe Tottenham have moved on. I don't know what's happened there, or Conte's changed his mind. I don't know. But as it stands today, his choice is Man United and Brentford.
Where do you think you end up?
Given the figures I've heard Man United have offered, I'd say Man United. And, there's a bit of a Dutch contingent there now, or Eredivisie, which he'll know from Ajax. So I'd say there. But he might surprise you and stay at Brentford. I don't think he owes Brentford. Well, yeah. I've heard people say that he owes Brentford something. I don't necessarily buy that. Yes, they took a chance on him. But I think if we look back on the season, they were in absolute freefall. I think they lost 8 league games in a row, and they were about to drop into the relegation zone. He comes in the team and they finished the season unbeaten. So let him decide who he wants to go to. So I wouldn't like to see him in a Man U shirt, if I'm completely honest, because I think he's so good. It would make so much sense if he joined Tottenham. It really would. It would be the final piece of the jigsaw, if you ask me, in some of the areas. So, yeah, but as it stands, I don't think it'll be Tottenham.
What is the latest on Steven Bergwijn? Because all we keep seeing is reports stating that he's going to Ajax, and then this one seems to be dragging on. What is the latest here?
So, I mean, they've wanted him since January, and then Tottenham kind of changed their minds after the Leicester goals, and and Conte does like the player, but he's told them at the end of last season, I need to be in a first team before the World Cup. Spurs have said fine. Ajax are the club he wants to join. But Ajax keep offering, 18 million rising to 22, 19 rising to 21. And then Spurs are looking at it and going, hold on, you've just sold Sebastian Haller for 35. You're trying to, and they've been, a few clubs have been linked with a few of their players for 50, 60 million. Steven Bergwijn has proved he can play in the Premier League. So I think it's coming down to a fee. They need to work on the fee. So, again, I still think this will get done. I think Spurs maybe mentioned him to Everton and nothing happened there. I think he still wants to go back to Holland. I still think this will happen. I just don't know when. I can't tell you when. I thought it would have been done by now, but I cannot tell you when. I might get a call tomorrow morning and say, yep, fee agreed. But as it stands, it's not happening. But I do think it will happen.
Do you expect Sergio Reguilón to go out the door this summer, particularly now we've signed Perisic and Conte seems to like Ryan Sessegnon?
Well, I mean, again, he's a funny one, really, because when he joined Spurs, I thought he had a brilliant first few weeks.
Yeah.
He was man of the match against Chelsea in the League Cup. He was phenomenal. Where I sit, though, I see Conte get really frustrated with him, sort of when he bombs forward and sort of doesn't really do anything with it. So we know he can get in the box. It's just his final delivery or finish. And I don't know whether Conte's now decided that he just doesn't cut it for him. And Spurs, at the end of the day, they are spending. They've got a bit more extra money, but they will need to recoup something as well. I think they'd sell him quite easily. I think that's something where they might decide later in the window. Again, someone said to me the other day, and I actually thought this was a good point. With the Champions League coming in, injuries are going to happen. And look, let's be honest, Sessegnon is very injury prone. They could have Sessegnon, Reguilón, and Perisic, and sometimes Perisic pushing forward as the left winger. So yeah. I don't think it's set in stone that Reguilón will leave. But if Paratici and Conte decide one of them has to go out of Sessegnon and Reguilón, I reckon it would be Reguilón. But there's been no bids from him as of yet.
Michael, what do you expect to happen with Tanguy Ndombele and Giovanni Lo Celso? Because when you think back, £100 million between the two of them, they're not playing at the moment. Do you expect to see them in a Spurs shirt ever again?
Well, I mean, you never say never, but I mean, Giovanni Lo Celso, Villarreal aren't rich, but they like him a lot. But every summer they need to juggle their finances and juggle the players in and out. Arnett Danjuma has got interest from clubs in England, so maybe they'll get some money there. But I think them and Atletico have made tentative interest, but no firm bids. I don't know what they're waiting on there, but I think I'm assuming that he'll go back to Villarreal or he'll go back to La Liga. Ndombele, there's been absolutely nothing. I heard a whisper the other day about Galatasaray, another loan, but there's been nothing really. And I think actually that could be the one player where Spurs do have a bit of a problem. Look, I saw a video the other day of him training on Instagram. Great. I've seen it all before, though. It's not about working hard on a 15-second show reel. It's about doing it consistently, and he's not done it consistently. I do believe that he has no future at Spurs. It would take a remarkable turnaround of epic principles for Ndombele to have a future at Spurs.
From what you understand, this pot of £150 million, hopefully a lot of this will go in the transfer window in this summer. From what you understand, if Spurs were to sell Tanguy Ndombele, Giovanni Lo Celso, Harry Winks, Joe Rodon, Steven Bergwijn, probably a couple of others, is all that money going towards Antonio Conte's pot to then buy future players as well?
Yeah, I would have thought so. Yeah, I mean, Spurs are going for it. There's no doubt about it. They want to keep, the stadium, for example, is going to, Spurs were hit massively by COVID. Every club was, but Spurs more than most with the stadium. They lost out on the sponsorship. Like, life has changed. We see it in ourselves. We're hit financially, all of us, and they had sponsors coming out their ears, and that's drying up a little bit. And then that's what's Daniel Levy will be working on, Paratici working more on the football side. But I do believe that Conte will get the big chunk of anything they bring in on top of the 150. The problem is it's very obvious to people outside who is available and who isn't. So I still think Harry Winks will go, whether it's Everton, Leeds, Southampton, Leicester. I do think he'll eventually go, and a club will get a good player there. He just needs a move.
Michael, are Spurs looking at anybody else who we haven't mentioned?
I know in the past they liked Yuri Tielemans, and I know he was talked about going to Arsenal, but I don't be surprised if they might have another look at him maybe down the line. I'm not saying that there's been any bids, but I know there's always been people at the club that have admired him, even back in the Poch era. Is there something they could do there? I don't know. He's an attacking-minded midfielder that Tottenham are keen to look at. I don't think that would be anywhere near, but that's someone I have heard where not to completely rule out in future. I heard that a few weeks ago, and I said, I thought he was going to Arsenal, and they went, no, not at the moment. So that might happen. But as I say, Chris, I think a lot will come down to people going out at the moment.
Do you know, I always thought that Antonio Conte would want all of his signings in before all the team flew out to South Korea, which, of course, is next week. It looks like the majority of business is being done before that time. Would you expect any business to be done in August when the season's actually started, right up until the 1st of September?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Conte could turn around and sort of say after the first 3 games, I think we need this. I think we need that. I think we're a bit light here. I don't think we're as good here as I thought. I think what the window does, while the transfer window remains open until deadline day, you are going to get transfers. You are going to get interest. You are going to get sales. You're going to get buys. I would never rule it out. What's going on now, though, is just clubs are just trying to be a bit more savvy and make sure they don't get desperate. But there will always be transfers on deadline day. There will always be players coming in August. That will never change until they change the window till before the first day of the season. That will never change.
Michael, last question for you. Are the trophies coming?
I'm desperate. Honestly, I'm sick to death of the banter. I don't see why Tottenham can't win a League Cup this year. I really can't. I honestly, they're so much stronger this season. They got a full pre-season of Conte. I really feel this could be the year. I think Tottenham are going to finish in the top 4. I'm so sure of that. What's the League Cup? 6 games? 5 games? FA Cup 6 or 7? Yeah. Come on, it's time now. It's time. Because, as I say, Chris, I don't see Tottenham getting beaten much next season with the kind of players we've got now. Romero, Basuma, they're gits without swearing, and good gits. So, let's hope. Let's hope.
It's so nice to see a smile on every Spurs fan's face at the moment. It really is.
Yeah,
Michael, thanks so much for joining me, and tell everyone where they can find you. And, of course, you're back to work tomorrow on Sky Sports News.
Yeah, back on air, 8 a.m, Sky Sports News, covering transfers. Obviously, not just Tottenham. It's busy all round. And I'm on Twitter, @MichaelBridge_. So if you want to interact, I look forward to hearing from you.
Michael, thanks so much. And thanks for watching, everybody. Thanks for listening. And I'll see you on the next one. Until then, come on, you Spurs.